Greg, thanks much for your warm introduction and for being such a source of inspiration throughout the study in the Eastern Caribbean, literally becoming part of my long shadow at the end of a Grenadian day. Praise and recognition, of course, are always nice after a difficult task, but receiving this award today, named after the late Robert Carr, is especially gratifying and humbling. Doing a study like this reminds me of the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. Not that I have much child raising experience myself, but it seems that it took various villages in 6 different islands to produce this child. Julia Hasbun, who also has no child rearing experience, worked tirelessly in all of these villages and with the local teams and community leaders and national program staff, painstakingly collecting the data. Henna Backstop from Alabama and made some movie star appearances at critical moments, ironically precisely because she does have children to raise. And Ria, our very own demographer, crunched numbers and translated her work into tangible demographic data. Bulent helped us think through some of the methodology, and we benefited from the vast research experience of not one, but 2 directors of the Sparkman Center for Global Health, Craig Wilson, the former director, and Janet Turan, the current director. Thanks to all of you, because without each and every one of you, this study simply would not have ever been possible. In the Caribbean, as in other developing regions, we are used to have external researchers parachute in, conduct research on community members, and depart without providing much information or assistance, and leaving community groups to mop up the mess. How do we overcome the bias that comes from approaching a community as an outsider? What social and cultural validity can a study have when it is conducted by outsiders who know little about the community, culture, and setting in which the research was done? We talk a lot about eliminating health disparities, but it seems that we make little progress. Surely a first step must be to enable communities to gain control over the determinants of their health. This involves engaging partners in ways that respect and fit with their contexts and realities. It involves democratizing the knowledge production process. It means bridging gaps between research and practice. Traditionally, research partnerships between CBOs and research institutions have been based on a single arrangement, where the research institute is responsible for the research protocol and for directing data collection and analysis, and the CBOs are basically relegated to providing access to target populations. However, there's strong rationale for us to rethink how we approach strategic information of research and collaborations. New trends and pressures have impacted both NGOs and academic institutions alike. Increasingly, NGOs are expected to demonstrate impact of their interventions and develop an evidence base for their work. At the same time, academics are being asked to demonstrate the usefulness and wider impact of their research on real-world issues and policy. These demands favor an environment to renegotiate research partnerships between academics and community groups. However, in reality, there are many questions that still need to be addressed about what each actor brings, what role each will play, and how the collaboration will work in practice. These include different priorities, schedules and capacity, hierarchies of knowledge and power relations. But it's best to have these things out in the open, because ignoring them can obstruct ways of working and limit the transformative potential of the partnerships. At CVC, we grapple with how to improve the development, implementation, and delivery of the programs and services we run. We are interested in knowledge that addresses the real-world needs of key populations and in how we can then facilitate its translation into action in the form of practice, policy, or behavior that can bring about change in individuals, organizations, or systems. So we created the Robert Carr Center for Action Research Resources. The creation of a specialized unit within CVC provides a critical space to address and negotiate the differences between the assumptions and different knowledge that partners bring to the table. It provides an opportunity for CVC to create new kinds of research processes and outputs. And it draws on CVC's presence on the ground as a coalition with member organizations throughout the region, and on building research expertise in local members who have gained the trust and access to key population groups on the ground. This study on population size estimates in the Eastern Caribbean is a good example of what this new relationship can look like between community-based organizations and academic institutions. Traditionally, population size estimates have proved difficult to conduct, particularly in small island contexts, and as a result, frequently the data obtained has been questioned by community groups. Insufficient attention has perhaps been given to adapting the established population size estimate methodology developed in places like San Francisco to country contexts where the overall number of key populations are very much smaller and the behaviors are criminalized. This has led to population size estimates in regions like the Eastern Caribbean or the Pacific Islands being abandoned, or the results not being published or used. CVC and the University of Alabama at Birmingham have teamed up, each with specific roles and responsibilities. Although our overall approach in the OECS was based on tested and established population size estimate methods, we introduced specific critical adaptations and variations to address the small island contexts of the Eastern Caribbean. Understanding what modifications were made and why, and the impact they had in the results obtained, makes for a good case study in the importance of democratizing data. But this is really the subject of another conversation. Suffice to say that we came up with larger and more acceptable size estimates for each of the population groups in the 6 countries. We found new subgroups of MSM, trans women, and sex workers previously unknown or poorly characterized. We obtained greater buy-in of study results by community-based organizations doing frontline work with key populations in the OECS and the NAPS. We achieved substantial cost savings that allowed us to reprogram part of the population size estimate funds to other areas of the grant. We built the capacity of local organizations, strengthened community systems, and increased the regard for CBOs by the local authorities. Finally, by engaging countries and communities up front in the research planning process, we were able to achieve greater commitment to using the research findings for action. Key populations in the Caribbean face pervasive and persistent health and justice issues and should be entitled to excellent research. However, too often they have been subjected to extractive, irrelevant, and exploitative research, and when seeking out data, often find inferior quality products and services available to them. CVC and the University of Alabama at Birmingham have helped show that there is another way of doing things. By ensuring community groups are properly engaged in research processes, we can produce strategic information products that reflect the principles of accuracy, relevance, rigor, accessibility, and usefulness. Thank you very much.